You're tuned in to Zoroverse.
In a world where you can be anything, be kind. That is the personal life philosophy of our guest at Zoroverse today, Marshad. Marshad is the first female Mobedyar in North America and the youngest priest in Iran. So enough from me, Marshad. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Mahshad. I was born in Tehran, Iran, and moved to Toronto, Canada at a young age. I studied human resources and have also done my international business administration. And I'm here in London enjoying the rain and all the shopping that goes with it.
Yeah, I think you've brought the rain with yourself.
I honestly think I have, because before coming I checked the weather, it was beautiful, and then I don't know.
We were having such a good time.
It's gone 2 weeks ago.
Actually, it must have been good for you when you were in quarantine, though, right?
It was nice.
Yeah,
it was
it
quite
was
nice.
nice.
And then as soon as I had my freedom, so I mean, no complaint.
Fair enough. Did you manage to hit any spots in Europe along the way too?
No, I'm just minimizing my flights. So London it is for now.
Each stop costs you 2 weeks.
Exactly. Gotta do it when I go home, so I'm not looking forward to it. Yeah, that's a month out of your life.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And normally we're used to seeing people on webcam, so we're really excited to have you in person.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
So today we're going to talk about the relationship that our communities have had. So obviously in your introduction we found out that you are Iranian Zoroastrian, and I myself am Parsi, Dani, and I think that our communities have had such a long history from being one to obviously then becoming two separate identities, and we really want to explore that, especially in our generation.
Yeah, we have a rare opportunity here to go beneath the surface.
Yeah. So obviously growing up in Canada, like you said, out of the diaspora, we are quite used to mingling with each other. How has that been, like growing up in Canada? I mean, we know how it is in London, and we'll get into that in a bit. But growing up in Canada and coming from Iran, where it was mostly Iranians, how is that different in Canada? Maybe when you were younger to now, or has it not changed?
So naturally, I was only familiar with Islam and Zoroastrianism because I spent the first few years of my life in Iran. And moving to Canada at a young age exposed me to other people and other cultures, which also helped to expand my worldview. And very soon I realized that I love people, and I'm quite fascinated by that because you learn about their culture, their traditions, their habits, their lifestyle. And as a young kid, having moved from Iran, it was quite interesting. And the Canadian culture is similar to UK and America. It's driven from a combination of different immigrant groups. And as an expat, I was quite excited to immerse myself in the Canadian culture and learn about others as well, because in a way, it shows you that there is not just one way of living, and your point of view, your perspective is not the only one in the world. So I find that quite interesting. Needless to say, on my first visit to the Dartmouth in Toronto, I want to say I was excited, amazed, but I was very keen to learn that there are other Zoroastrians from India and Pakistan. And you got to keep in mind, I was about 7 or 8 years old at this time, and meeting Parsis was such a new experience. And very soon I got involved in the Iranian and Parsi communities. My brother and I started attending the religion classes, the Zoro camps that were provided at the Dartmouth, and I even joined Scouts for a few years, which is was predominantly Parsi kids. But that's not to say there were no differences. It's you could easily feel isolated as soon as Parsis started speaking in their native language, and same with us Iranis. I mean, we're guilty. We'll just speak Farsi or Dari amongst ourselves. Food was another noticeable difference. And something else that's always been a problem, and still is to this day, is that Iranis and Parsis tend to hold their jashans, prayers, and do their celebrations separately. And again, this is just based on my observation from the Iranian Parsi community in Toronto, right? And again, my experience having lived there for most of my life, Iranis and Parsis don't tend to do much of the functions together. And that's mostly based upon language differences, food preference, and we do follow a different calendar, you know, like
The Fasli calendar, yeah, that's right.
And unfortunately, I mean, that alone is a topic that can be discussed for days. There are these differences. Those as a combination have caused a separation in gulf between the two communities. And something else that's always been a bit of a problem, at least within the Toronto Zoroastrian community, is that the Nowruz in March is not celebrated together between the Iranis and Parsis. And whether it's on these different locations on the same day or over a span of weekend, they're always celebrated separately. And despite numerous efforts from the youth, we still have not been able to convince the two communities to come together and hold one big party for both to attend instead of having two separate smaller ones. So I think that has still been and still is a problem within our communities. And to be honest, my brother and I, we usually feel a bit torn between our Irani and Parsi friends, because we would obviously be attending the jashans, the events and celebrations with our parents and family, and consequently we miss out on seeing our Parsi friends. So
because our generation is so mixed now.
Yeah,
but if we attend
the events on separate time or separate locations, then it's just not feasible.
No, it's not feasible. We have to take off time of work, because obviously we celebrate Nowruz on the day that it happens, so it's not always a weekend.
Yes.
And then obviously the March one, you can't really blame it on the calendar because Paris is still celebrated.
Yeah.
So there is no excuse. So growing up till now, what improvements have you seen?
So one thing that I've always tried to keep in mind is that in my own home country, in Iran, I mean, even though I moved to Canada at a young age, I still have gone back almost every year to see my grandparents, spend time with family. Something that it goes without denying, and there's no absolute doubt about it, is that I am a minority in Iran. Firstly, because I am a woman. Secondly, because I am a Zoroastrian woman. So having experienced that and coming to Canada, you know, I call Canada home. I'm a proud Canadian, and it's a multicultural environment. And within our own small community, having this gulf, having this gap between, and I love my Parsi friends, I love my Irani friends, and seeing that in our celebrations, our events and prayers, it's just a bit sad. But I'm proud to say that there are improvements, there have been improvements, at least within the Irani communities. I've noticed that in the last few years they've made an effort to conduct all the jashans, prayers, seminars, everything A to Z in both Farsi and English. We also always try to have like Western food options, vegetarian food options, in addition to our traditional Persian food. We always play Persian, Indian, Western music, and I know Parsis do the same. And in a way, it's kind of made it a bit easier for us to bring our Parsi friends to our events, to invite them to feel comfortable. Okay, well, they're not going to feel left out, and for us to attend theirs. But I think there is a lot more that needs to be done. There's a lot more effort that needs to go into this, and obviously it's not going to happen overnight, but talking about it, bringing awareness, raising awareness, and teaching people that we are not that different, I think it's a good place to start. So, yeah.
So how would you say that we aren't different? Like, what are some of the things that are quite similar you have noticed? I mean, you said right now you have Western options and Iranian options. I think if you give any Parsi a choice, they'd probably choose the Iranian option anyway. But what kind of things are quite similar? Like, something I have noticed is that our food is different, but it is still quite similar. We have like taken obviously Iranian dishes, used Indian spices and given it a completely different name.
It's a jambalaya.
Right? So yeah, I mean that's why our Parsi food doesn't exist in Indian restaurants, because it isn't really Indian food. And maybe if you look at it, you might think it's an Iranian food until you taste it, and you're like, doesn't taste quite right. So there's definitely similarities.
Yeah.
What else? Have you noticed anything else?
I think the the biggest similarities between the two communities is the fact that we put, our families and even us, I think within our generation, we put great emphasis on family, religion, and education. We also love to party and share our food, and I feel like with both Iranis and Parsis, they're extremely friendly and kind people, and it's always not like I always feel welcome when I attend a Parsi event, or every time I've gone to my Parsi friend's house. It's never been like I've never felt like I didn't belong, if that makes sense. So it's always been nice that despite all these stereotypes and misconceptions, that there is that kindness, that base of love.
Yeah, so definitely. I've had a lot of similar situations as well. I recently went, I think 2 years ago, to a Tioban home, and it was like held in somewhere in Surrey, I think. And there was a few of us Parsi lot who went with our majority Iranian friends, and obviously, so everyone was mostly Iranian, and they were just so welcoming. And we did like activities during the day. We made loads of new friends. They made an effort to, so when they did like the Hafiz, like the book reading and stuff, they made an effort to translate it to English for us. And it was amazing. And I think you're right, we are very hospitable. Maybe that's the problem, we both like to host. Do you think that's the problem? We really like to be the hosts.
But I don't see that as a problem.
But when we join together, then we both have to host. So, because if you go to an Iranian function as a Parsi, you accept that it's going to be Iranian music, and you accept it more. And when you go to a Parsi function, you accept, okay, today I'm going to be doing a bit of Bollywood and so that. But when we come together, we have to share DJ time.
I mean, I don't want to get into the whole calendar topic, but I've always seen it as an opportunity for having double the fun, double the party. I mean, a nose in March and a nose in August, like that's double the gift, you know? And I think that's, instead of looking at it as a problem, I think we should look at it as an opportunity to make more memories, get together more. I mean, maybe Iranians could host the March Nowruz, and Parsis could host the August one. I mean, it's just a balance, I feel like, that we need to find, and it's doable. We share one major struggle in history, and that's obviously during the Arab invasion, when we were all in Iran. After that, however, when the Parsis left Iran and came to India, from let's say maybe 1,300 years plus, we have been separate, and we have gone through our own struggles. Do you think if our communities took a little bit of more interest in each other's healing, we would become closer? I completely understand what you're trying to say. And one thing that I sincerely believe that to at least lessen this gap, make it a bit easier to digest, is to communicate, to talk, and to educate our peers, our family, our parents, our grandparents about our counterparts' struggles, the things they've gone through, their culture, their traditions, and maybe that way it'll be a bit easier to understand one another But it's also the fact that we need to celebrate our differences and accept our similarities, because there is a lot more that we come for, and that alone can make our gatherings, make our functions, and make our youth more welcome. I do believe that learning about each other's struggles and learning about each other's history and background and things that they had to overcome will definitely help to elevate that struggle and that gap between us. But I think what's really more important that we should spend more time on, and not even within our generation, but as you said, our parents and grandparents, is to understand the similarities and to be able to learn about each other's culture and tradition and educate one another.
So you mentioned education. How is one of the ways that we can implement that as a community in our lives and to the next generation and to our generation?
There has been discussion. I just feel like there could be more, and we could do it at home with our parents, with our grandparents. I'm quite lucky because my grandpa spent his teen years in India. That's where he had his education done. So growing up here in Canada, every time he came, he would tell us stories. He would tell us like his memories, show us pictures. So I always got the positive side in addition to my experience here. So to me it was like, oh well, they're my friends. They're just from a different country. It's like my Asian friends in school. It's just we all have our story. It's good to talk about it. It's good to be proud, of our roots, background, cultures. Like I'm extremely proud, not only being a Zoroastrian, but being a Canadian. And there's nothing wrong with it. But for me to say that I am better than you living in UK, that goes against every tenet, all the good thoughts, good words, and good deeds that we claim to be practicing. So that's again my point of view, and I think you should always think about how you and your kids and your parents want to be treated, and then use that in your actions in the world and generate that energy out there. So I think the change needs that system, that foundation needs to happen at the roots, which is at home. And we need to change the conversation. We need to create a change, because if we don't change, then change will create us. And I sincerely believe that we are not divided by our differences. We are divided by our inability to identify, accept, respect, celebrate, and honor those differences, because our differences make us glorious, they make us unique, they make us powerful. And if we join together as a united Zoroastrian community, only God knows what we can achieve.
It's true. I think we need to overcome that collective historical trauma that we've all been through a couple of times in very different ways. And because of that, we've almost built up, as both Parsis and Iranis, an immunity to change.
Yeah.
But because we have this confirmation bias where we only accept things that are comfortable to us, which will allow us to stay in our little bubbles and not have to worry about it, we're almost losing and being eroded at what's of value. So thank you for that.
And I just want to quickly, because I know we're sitting here, we're talking about Iranian Parsis, and it'll be very, it would seem very ignorant to just completely disregard the fact that we're having our struggles, but we're actually a majority. And there are minority Zoroastrians, there are Kurdish Zoroastrians, there are Armenian Zoroastrians, there are Zoroastrians around the world that we don't recognize at all, because we're kind of too busy figuring out our own, we're calling ourselves a minority, but really even within our minority there is a minority. So if we can come together, we can also accept other Zoroastrians who are also part of the big Persian Empire, because I see on Instagram all the time Kurdish Zoroastrians celebrating Nowruz, doing their traditions, and I don't really think that we recognize them at all, or to the effect that we should, because as a community. So if we can educate ourselves, join together, hopefully we can all join together one day.
Absolutely.
And we're not the only religion that has different cultures. Every religion has different cultures. Hindus from North India and South India celebrate things differently. Different Muslims in different countries celebrate Eid differently. Christians have different calendars as well.
Yes.
Christmas is not always on 25th December. We're not the only ones.
And as you said, different religions are often celebrated a bit slightly different in different countries and cultures. And I think, again, it goes back to having an open mind and being comfortable to accept and understand our differences. One of my favorite verses from the Gata is Yasna 30.2, and I actually recently did a talk on Fazana, which is available on their YouTube page, where I dissected the choice that our Prophet gives us. So Yasna 30 verse 2 talks about each man and woman having the choice and having to choose a path between good and evil. So I dissected this choice and I talked about what good and evil really means and how we can use that in our life today. Because you see, the choice that he talks about, it's so complex that it's a never-ending conversation. But if we could start to respect each other, to treat others with dignity, kindness, love, regardless of our race, cultural background, our gender, whether we are a convert, Iranian, Parsi, honestly, I feel like that's a good way of honoring the Yasna 30 verse 2, honoring that choice, choosing the right path. And yes, there are more of us that we account for. There are many converts, many people that openly, proudly want to be Zoroastrians. And who am I? Who are we to deny them that right? Like that goes against the tenets of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds for us to say, no, you don't belong. No, you're not good enough.
And I think, and you can correct me because the Gathas know, but there is a line in there, answering the translation, where Zarathustra did ask, who are you for? And he did reply saying, I'm for whoever wants me, whoever searches for me. So obviously that leaves it quite open to not one race.
Absolutely.
So we talk about bringing communities together, and education is one way. Do you think marriage is another way?
I mean, we are such a small community and we are globally scattered, and fortunately we have all these Zoroastrian congresses, seminars, the sports events that are held in different countries every few years. And because of that, there are more and more Irani and Parsi unions that are happening. And from experience, from talking to friends and my peers, I think within our generation, there is a less focus on the Iranian Parsi differences, culture, traditional differences, and more of an emphasis on their personality, lifestyle, and geographical location, because oftentimes these relationships that spark in Zoro events tend to be long distance.
Yeah.
But the way I like to look at it is that you got to see what's important for you and what you want to carry on. And again, like oftentimes there's this perception that if the woman, whether it's Iranian Parsi, they have to be the one to adapt to the guy's culture, to the guy's background. And I just feel like it will never be a solid, it will never be a healthy relationship if it's always one way. So despite being an Iranian Parsi, being Jewish, being Christian, being white, black, any other race, you have to put in that work and you have to create what works for you. You have to come up with a system that benefits the couple.
And I think that's why it's so important for men also to shoulder the burden, because a lot of the time whether it's in Parsi or Iranian relationships, you see the woman accommodating a lot to fit in with the structure traditionally, because it's not just a patrilineal religion, but also because a lot of the times in the olden days, in the traditional days, the woman would move over into the man's family and courtyard. But as that system has now changed to people getting their own accommodation, and you almost lose half of what brought the couple together if you just decide to weigh it, and it becomes lopsided. So I think it bears merit to honor both of that and put in the work, like you mentioned.
So we're going to play a little game quickly.
Shot!
This was that would be
I'm
great.
joking. Alright.
This is going to be a word game. I have got 3 words in Farsi and 3 words in Hindi, Gujarati kind of thing. And they're pretty similar, so you should be able to guess what the word is, okay? Who wants to go first?
So it's between us two, right?
Yeah.
So cello cowbell versus dancer.
Yeah, fair enough.
Ready?
Ladies first.
Okay, ladies first. Okay, so your word is bach,
Bach.
like P-A-C-H. Bach.
No idea.
Just say you.
Bach. No idea.
Okay, how many fingers do you have?
5?
Yeah, and then when you,
Yeah.
what do you do
Oh,
when you hit
nice.
someone?
Punch.
So,
No.
no, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
right. Yeah.
So
So
punch
patch is
is
5.
punch.
Yeah.
No,
wow.
patch is 5.
Yeah.
But you could remember it as a, punch.
Okay. Yes.
Punch
It's
is
pretty
5.
similar.
We say punch.
Yeah,
Punch.
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 Okay. Your one is. Wait, I want to make sure it's right. Not consonant. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah? I hope you pronounce it right. Entazor?
Yeah.
Entazor.
Entazar. Is it happiness and enthusiasm?
How good is your Hindi?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Intazar.
Like anticipation,
Yeah.
waiting.
Oh.
Yes.
The E is an I.
Okay, the way you said it, it was
Because I just
like
said.
Entazar.
And
Because they
Entazar.
say it differently.
Oh, yeah.
Intazar.
Entazar.
Okay. Alright, for you, Ishara.
Ishara to point.
It's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
close.
Signal,
It's close.
yeah.
Indication.
Okay.
Yeah, but pointing is good.
So we say
Ishara.
ishara, which is
Ishara.
like indication.
Nice.
Yes. Ishara. Oh
Okay.
wow.
Okay. For you,
Ooh.
sad. Sad.
Could you say it?
Sad.
Sad.
Sad. Use it in a sentence.
Okay, no.
Okay, you do it in a sentence.
I have sad pound.
Oh, you have 7 pounds.
No.
Right. Oh, sard.
Oh, Sard, you have a cold.
Yeah.
I thought you said sad as in 100.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
another one. No.
Wait,
Sorry.
you have 100 pounds?
Sorry.
More.
Okay.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. So
So,
sad.
does that mean that you have a cold? Or that it is
No,
cold?
I thought you
either
said
way.
100.
No, I know, but
Sard.
does
Yeah,
sad
Sard
mean-
the head.
It's either have cold, I'm
Yeah,
cold,
yeah.
it's chilly, it's the
Okay, yeah.
I like this.
And if we have a cold, we say sad.
Okay, but she has 100 pounds, so clearly dinner.
Okay. Yours is sikko.
Sicko. No idea.
Change the ending.
Sick. Oh, like coin.
Yeah.
Sicket.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Right, let me try. Safid.
Hmm?
Sefid.
Safid.
Safed is white. Safed is white.
Yeah.
So, nice.
Okay. I think this is similar. Alright? Aina.
Eine. Mirror.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh,
There
wow.
you go.
I was really scared. I was like, I'm going to end up looking like a buffoon. But I have ended up looking like a buffoon.
I don't know.
Just
You
not
all,
a
I think you all got that right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. We're not that different.
And this is a wrap from me, Mahshad here at Zoroverse. Always be kind, be united, and treat each other with love. And next time in London, do bring an umbrella because it rains a lot.
No, so thank you for joining us. Whether you're listening to us in the morning, afternoon, evening, or twilight, just remember, if you have something to say, we're ready to have the conversation. Thank you.
You're tuned in to Zoroverse.